Beep beep, what is up ninjas? My name is Semrold and today I'm going to teach you guys how to EQ bass properly. I wrote an article on this and it did really well and I got a lot of comments from you guys, a lot of replies to it about how well the tutorial was and that it was really helpful, so I'm deciding to making it for you guys. Now before we get started, there's more than one way to reach a desired result, guys, so if this is not the way you do things, please don't comment below and be a jackass and be like, this is not the way I do things, Sen. This is so wrong because I don't do it like you do. Okay, there's more than one way to reach a destination. This is my way. Now 95% of the time you're going to be reducing rather than boosting. Let's say that you think your sound sounds very muddy, then reduce the frequency that's making it sound muddy rather than boosting the shit out of the high into the
Order up! Crew cocktail supreme!
Okay, so I'm totally against that, but I know some people do it and it works for them, so good for you. All right, guys, so here I have a song and I have taken off all the processing on the bass. So you're going to hear it with, a bass, but none of the processing on it. And we're going to talk a little bit about how to EQ it. So let's get rid of that EQ there and we're going to get into it. So this is the way it sounds like. Okay, so this is going to be like a hip-hop, lo-fi hip-hop song. I'm going to give you guys examples. The next one we're going to do is going to be more of a progressive house song. Now, if you go into the Moog bass, I do have some processing I've taken off, so that's going to make it sound like this the moment I turn it off. Take it off. Now, sadly, I cannot show that. It's just, I got taught by people, and some of them were like, yo, I'm down to teach you and all, but I just don't want you blasting these techniques on your YouTube channel. I'm like, all right, fair enough. So, sadly, I can't show that. We're going to put it in mono, even though it's already in mono because of Moog bass, just in case these effects add any sort of stereo-ness to it. A compressor, and then a sidechain. Now, it sounds nice and all, but if we play with everything, there's going to be some fighting going on. So I need to EQ the bass. Now, the first thing I need to realize is what sounds are playing in mono with my bass, because this bass is mono-ish. And, I have this sound here, which is covering kind of the highs, or that's what I want to, but it has some of these mids here. And then we also have this mono lead from the Yamaha DX7, which is an FM based synth, the first FM synth ever. So you can see that's why I reduced a lot on that Moog lub here, so they can work well together. So going back to, the bass, we know those two elements are there covering those areas, so I cannot have the bass. And the bass does have some frequencies there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a high cut, or I think it's called a low pass. I always get those misunderstood, and I'm going to cut up to around here. And that sounds good. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is go to my kick and see what frequency it's hitting on. And it looks like it's around the frequency of 54. So now what I do is I go to my Moog bass, since they're playing at the same time, I'm going to put that frequency 54.1 and I'm going to do a little reducement there. Now let's hear it together. Okay, so once we have that, now, a lot of people like to reduce stuff, but the thing about reducing, guys, is that when you reduce frequencies, you need to add them back. That's where the other 5%, the additive synthesis is, additive EQing, the sound designer of me's talking. That's where additive EQing is going to come in. So what I like to do is, if you have sort of like a frequency spectrum, you can look at it and then go like an octave up from that frequency and then boost there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use the spectrum to do this. So right now, if I'm at 54.1, we're going to check it on here. It's going to be like an A. We're going to move to the right to find A1. So A1's around 110. So then I'm just going to add a little bit of a booster with another bell EQ. I think it was 110, right? A little bit up there just to make up for that. And now Now, this is a trick I learned from John Christian, who has his own YouTube channel, and he's an amazing producer. I love his mixing and mastering. Bear's also a big fan of him, so you guys should check out his YouTube. He teaches some stuff like this. Sadly, he doesn't make that many more videos, but I promise those videos that he did release are fucking gold. And with that being done, guys, we are pretty much done EQing this bass. And the cool thing about it is that when you play it all together, it sounds like one conjunction unit, not one trying to do each other. Alright guys, now in this example, we're going to have a Future Bounce project file here. Now, I am making this project file with JSCar, so this is going to be a pack in the Future Bounce Revolution, but that's coming in like 2 to 3 months. So pretty much here, we're going to have this bass. Now, I took off all the EQs on the bass lines, I left the processing, and this is the way it's going to sound together in the song. Alright, so when we start EQing, first off, we need to understand what layer the basses are taking up. First off, we have the top layer, the mid layer, and the low layer. So which one of these sounds is taking up which layer? So the sub is obviously taking up the low part. So first off, we're going to see the sub. And you can see the sub's going all over here. Now, I know my sub is only going to take up this portion here. And that's it. Very simple. And now we can move on to the bass. Now this is where the magic's going to happen. Now in the bass, we're going to have 2 layers. The first one's going to be this one. And then the second one's going to be this. Now, knowing that we already have a sub, the first thing to do with this sound here is going to be to get rid of the lows here. So that's what we're going to be doing. That way. Now, moving on to the next one. We can see this one's very mid-low. We don't need the lows again from the sub, so we're going to get rid of them. And let's use a harsher EQ cut here and oversampling on. There we are. Now, knowing this, we're going to be doing this here. You can tell we're not using those high frequencies. Now, knowing this, now my second layer is more of a high sound because I already have these, frequencies being covered by the other bass. There's no reason for me to have this one doing that. So I'm going to get the high end of this one. Now, playing it together. Now, in this bass layer, I don't like that muddiness coming from it. So what I like to do is I like to do a quadrant like this, audition on, and find that thing I don't like about it. It's going to be right here, I think. There you go. I do not like that, so I'm going to do a little reducement there. It doesn't have to be that harsh. Maybe like... Let's move this up because I don't want to cut that. So before... After, and now together here. Now, so now together with the whole. So you guys see the difference there. So now the last thing we need to do is EQ this bass as a whole. It's going to go after the saturation. Remember, the EQ is very important. Sometimes the saturator adds frequencies we don't want back in, so we use an EQ to get rid of them. So we're going to use here a very harsh one, turn on oversampling. We're going to add a little bit boost here. Very simple EQing. Notice how we're not going to the moon. We're just, we're kind of being very, very graphic. Now to So the goal here is to get a well-balanced mix, and with the bass EQing like that, you can see we're doing a really good job. Now, going on to the last example, we are going to be doing this to a very normal track. Alright guys, now the last example is going to be another Future Bounce kind of track for that pack I'm doing with JSCar. So this is how it's going to sound like. If you notice, the bass just doesn't sound right, and that's because I took the EQ off. Now, this is the one I used in the article that I wrote, and it's very simple what we're going to be doing, guys. First off, we need to understand what in the bass is causing that imbalance. So the bass sounds like this, and it's from the Hexagon Revolution pack. So if you guys want to follow along and you have it, you can go ahead. Now, here we go. So the bass sounds nice, but there's some dirt that I cannot have in this because, again, we want the bass to sound good with everything else, not just by itself. So what I'm going to be doing is first off finding the problematic frequencies by, again, using a bell, going up in audition mode here. You can tell it's there. So I'm going to reduce here. Now with it up, you can see the biggest difference it makes. So now I think there's one more frequency, and I did know about this already, guys, so it's kind of not fair, but as a producer, you're going to have to go in and find these frequencies yourselves, and this is the way you do it. It's going to be there. Look at how much nice it sounds just by removing there. Now, one of the biggest mistakes I don't want you guys to make is that because I'm doing this here means that in your song you're gonna have to do the same thing. That's not the case, guys. You know, that's not the case. Sometimes, you know, it might be somewhere else, and you just have to figure it out as a producer. Now I'm gonna see if I get rid of some of these frequencies, if it helps. But I like that high end to it, so I'm gonna leave it and then see it as a whole if it's messing with anything else in my track. Now I am gonna get rid of everything below 30 hertz here. You know, one of the things is I cannot hear anything below that, so why am I gonna have it? Now the next thing here with the Bell 6 is we're just gonna add a boost here. Now the reason for the boost is because, remember, when you reduce, you want to add some of this loss dB that you just removed somewhere else, somewhere nice, and we can do the same thing to the high frequencies here. Now before, now when you play it together, sounds way nicer. Anyways, ninjas, I hope that you guys had fun in this tutorial. If you guys have any questions, you guys can leave in the comments below. Try and help each other out. This is my way of EQing. You have your own way. Let me know in the comments below. Maybe you just boost the high end to the moon. Who knows? But I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial, and if you found it useful, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time, ninjas. Take care and have an amazing day.
Got ready for the night in. She's heading for the lights, but she sees the vision going.